What you wanna know?
What's going on, people? Myke ctown here. Another episode of What Do You Want to Know, where you ask your questions. If you like your questions, I answer your questions on camera. So this is actually a video that I was thinking about doing prior to receiving this question, but when someone from Twitter asked it, I figured I would definitely go ahead and do it. So Mark Cole asks, "You're so analytical when reviewing. Do you find it hard to enjoy music as fans now?" I think this is actually an interesting subject. I definitely think reviewing albums a lot starts to affect the way you listen to music in general, which is why I don't always like to do a lot of reviews. Sometimes I think it's hard to be someone who mostly sits around listening to music, but also someone who has to pick it apart. When I put an album on, I like to just sit back and vibe out to it, taking it as a whole. You know, the atmosphere, the instrumentation, the voices, the intent, the context. I like to have all of that come at me at once. With certain albums, it gives me a greater idea of what the artist was going for, and in the end, it affects me differently than other albums might. But when you're listening to an album to review, it does, like, to a degree, take some of the fun away from it, depending on the type of reviewer you are. Like you have someone like Spectrum Pulse, you know, he's very, very analytical. Then you have someone like Luke James, who's also analytical, but not to that degree. He's more of a person that's gonna tell you what he likes, and he's gonna break down why he likes it, which is why I like both of them, but I'd like to think that I fall somewhere in the middle of those two guys. You know, if you're one of those people that just keep shit super simple, like, I like this, it's a good album, or cool lyrics, good beats, I like it, or this shit sucks, I don't like it, and you call that a review and that's it. Like, I feel like for those type of people, it doesn't really make much of a difference. But for someone like me who can be overly analytical to a point, sometimes it's really difficult, because a lot of times you can't just take the album as the sum of its parts. Like, I have to separate parts out. If it's hip hop, I gotta isolate the rapper, you know, his flows, his lyrics, his content. I gotta isolate the beats, how they sound, how they're composed. And then you have to take those pieces together and judge if everything sounds great as a whole. And then you have to judge if this whole works together with this whole and works together with this whole, meaning the songs. And this is why when reviewing an album, I require multiple listens over a certain period of time. Because, you know, people get onto us at Dead End Hip Hop because we don't drop reviews the same day an album drops. And it's because I need time to process an album. I might listen to it on Monday, hate it on Tuesday, and love it by Friday. It all depends on the mood that I'm in when I listen to it, and I need time to process everything that's going on. I also need time to formulate my thoughts so I can properly verbalize what I think about the album, because I know what I'm trying to say, because my rambling, jumbled thoughts, they make sense in my head, but I know for a fact that a lot of times, by the time they get to my mouth, it doesn't make any sense to anybody else. And this is why I don't like to review albums all the time. Like, people don't understand how difficult it can be sometimes to properly review an album. And I know this sounds like some whiny fuckboy bullshit, but I'm trying to explain to you the way my stupid fucking mind works. Like, I feel like you have to listen to the album and mentally separate everything out so you can properly explain what a band is doing, good or bad. And I think this is what separates, like, reviewers and review channels from dudes doing reaction channels. And this is not a shot at people who do reaction channels. Admittedly, I'm just not a fan of those in general. I think the only one that I actually enjoy is Big Quint. And don't bother filling up the comment section with, oh man, you gotta check out this guy and that guy and this guy. Look, I'm good. Quint gives me enough of the reaction channels to where I'm full. You know, I don't need you guys to tell me to go check out Little Quint and Uncle Quint and Cousin Quint or Big Clint. I think what it takes to be a successful reaction channel is personality and charisma, which Quint has. But you don't need the ability to effectually analyze anything. Like, you don't need to be able to convey any real points. And I'm not saying that Quint doesn't have those abilities. I'm sure he does. I'm just saying that they're not necessary when being a reactionary. Like, being a reactionary is a lot easier than being analytical. Reviewing music in an analytical way is almost like putting your brain into another gear, like one that has to turn off the this is art, and it doesn't matter if it's good or bad. It just is. You have to turn off that mode, and you have to turn on the, okay, now you have to explain what this art means to you and why you like or dislike it, and then explain what the artist can do to make a project that might appeal to you more, which really isn't the way that art should work. So my brain is usually in that first mode, and switching it to the second can be difficult because those two methods of thinking, they don't always mesh. And when you do this type of reviewing a lot, sometimes I feel like it can reduce your excitement for listening to an album. People hit me up all day long talking about review this album, review that album, review my album. And they just don't understand when I don't ever get around to it. And they don't get that sometimes I just want to listen to music for fun because that's what I do in my regular life. Like sometimes I don't want to listen to it as work. They think that what I do is as simple as listening to an album once and then just magically having all of this shit to say about it. That's like me walking up to you, the artist, and saying, write me a song right now. And no, you don't get time to think about it. No, I don't care if you're not in the mood to write a great song. No, I don't care if you're just freestyling for fun or noodling on a guitar as a way to pass the time. No, I need you to write me a fully composed song right now. And that's simply not the way it works. Very few people I know can be clear music fans and analytical reviewers. And this is why people like Fantano fascinate/confuse the shit out of me, because clearly he loves music, but he reviews so much stuff that my brain can't understand the way his brain processes music, especially in such a large quantity, because every review he does is very analytical. So like Spectrum Pulse, sometimes I wonder if their brains simply don't have to switch modes, like if their brain is always on analytical mode. Like even if they're just sitting around and they're listening to music that they're not going to review, I sometimes wonder if their brain is always processing that music as if they were going to review it. And this is just a weird thing that I like to think about sometimes, because I know that my brain doesn't really function the way a lot of other people's brains do. I don't know, I feel like I can talk about this topic for hours, but I think the short answer to this question is when I'm listening to music that I have to review, I have to put myself in a completely different mind state than when I'm listening to music casually. I don't really know any other way to describe it. Hopefully that helps. Hopefully it doesn't confuse you more. I'm sure I sound like a pretentious prick, but that's what you guys come to this channel for, so you should be used to that by now. So that's it. I don't really know what else to say about this topic. I do want to quickly thank you guys for getting me to 40,000 subscribers. That is amazing. I love you all. So, as usual, thank you for living, thank you for loving, thank you for being you. Please don't die, and I'll see you guys next time. All right?